But under de Klerk, there was evidence of military interference in other political events. In the Ciskei, one of the so-called independent homelands created under apartheid, a new leader had come to power. But to the government's dismay, Brigadier Opar Gozo seemed supportive of the ANC. He even appeared on a platform with Mandela. So military intelligence in Pretoria set out to turn Gozo against Mandela by telling him he was the target of ANC assassination plots. An intelligence briefing prepared for him as late as November 1992 said, "The ANC do not believe in negotiations to solve the problems in the region. For them, there is only one solution. Brigadier Gozo and his supporters must either be killed or chased out of the region." A former colonel in South African military intelligence saw all this happening. Colonel Gert Hugo transferred to the Ciskei to head their military intelligence.
This was an undercover military operation that they made him paranoid about his own safety. They fabricated threats against his life on a daily, weekly basis. The standing joke was that on Friday, you just say they are coming. They being Mkhonto we Sizwe out of the Transkei. He was going to a launch attack on Gozo's life.
Mkhonto we Sizwe is the ANC's guerrilla army.
Yes, of course, it is clear and evident that they've been trying to dodge.
To seal his allegiance, military intelligence, according to Hugo, set up 2 former government officials to cross the border from neighboring Transkei.
They fed him with information that people under the previous regime that wants to come back to power is planning a coup in conjunction again with the Transkei. The 2 people came in, and one of them was summarily executed on the spot. They just shot the car to pieces. One got away and was later on executed in the nearby village by the military on orders from Gozo, because this was the final proof to Gozo that these threats that was pumped into him the whole time were true.
I had no illusions that what these people were saying was right. I couldn't take it as manipulation because there were evidence. There has been a wrong impression created to people that we are puppets and little boys of Pretoria. We are not. We are independent and we are sovereign. Our troops are going to be highly motivated and do the job.
It was no secret that the ANC wanted to get rid of the government's allies, homeland leaders like Gozo. But the political battle between Gozo's forces and the local ANC was fueled by the Dirty Tricks campaign.
Around about 1500 tomorrow afternoon.
Is this an attempt to derail the peace process?
I wouldn't say it's an attempt to derail the peace process. I would say it's a strategy to prolong the negotiation process, to in the end to negotiate the best bargain for a small handful of individuals.
Then who's giving the orders for things to continue?
I believe it's a discipline within the military. There's 2 scenarios. Either the politicians have to accept the fact that the security forces are out of control and not listening, or disciplines within the security forces are not in tandem with the reform initiatives. That's the one they have to accept. If they don't accept that, they have to acknowledge that they are part and parcel of the hidden agenda. The facts of the case is things keep on happening.
Suspicion about a hidden agenda was reinforced when de Klerk set aside a 100-year-old law banning the carrying of so-called Zulu cultural weapons. Mandela was outraged.
When de Klerk changed the law and made it legal for people to carry weapons, these weapons of death, it was the act of a white person who regards the lives of blacks as worthless. That changed the whole situation completely from the point of view of the mutual trust we've been trying to build between the African National Congress and the National Party.
I happened to be in his office when this was happening, and And Nelson Mandela had just made a statement attacking him for having signed it. And he was so utterly upset about that and said, now I have signed something to make the carrying of weapons illegal. And he was it looked absolutely genuine. He was really upset about that. I think he signed that bill without knowing what was in it. I believe there could have been a little bit of internal sabotage.
But once he realized what he'd done, why didn't he reverse it?
That's the puzzle about him. There are a few things like that where you wonder why he doesn't take action.
After February 2nd, 1990, could President de Klerk have stopped the security force dirty tricks?
He could have done more. The lack of, for example, putting out a date, saying after this date, no indemnity will be considered, in my mind, he is allowing a situation to continue which suits the politicians, and that is prolonging the negotiation process. No, not anywhere has a clear-cut message been given, stop your activities, in the form of saying, after this date, no indemnity will be considered.
Despite the violence, the negotiation process was moving forward. In December 1991, the first multi-party Congress opened, the Convention for a Democratic South Africa. Outside, right-wing white protesters called de Klerk a traitor, fearful of what the government might have already conceded. It was almost 2 years since de Klerk had set the whole process in train. Nearly 20 groups were represented at the table, dividing almost equally behind the government and the ANC. The task was to devise a form of transitional government to help South Africa move from white minority rule to real democracy. The delegates would take their cue from the readiness of the leaders to compromise.
I believe that the chemistry of the individuals is an important factor. But more important is whether the individuals arraigned around that table are or in a problem-solving frame of mind, or whether they are in a party political platform to extract gains.
The event was supposed to have been largely ceremonial, so no one was expecting what would happen when de Klerk made what was billed as the last speech of the day.
There is only one party sitting in this room with a private army and with arms caches, illegal arms caches, admitting to it. All the other parties do not have a dualism. We believe one cannot be totally committed to peaceful solutions if your major speakers constantly, until 2 weeks ago, from certain platforms with arms caches, make an appeal for the struggle to continue and adhere to the concept of armed action.
Outraged at the attack, Mandela asked for the microphone.
If a man can come to a conference of this nature and play the type of politics which are contained in his paper, very few people would like her to deal with such a man.
There are two stories about why this happened. One says de Klerk thought Mandela had been warned that he was going to make a public attack on the ANC's military wing to appease his white constituents, and that the message had not been given to Mandela. The other says de Klerk broke a private agreement.
It confirms what we have been saying all along, that the National Party and the government have a double agenda. They are talking peace to us. They are at the same time conducting a war. If a head of the government doesn't know about it, then he is not fit to be a head of the government.
Whatever had happened behind the scenes, the clash left a public perception of a profound divide between the ANC and the government at the very start of formal negotiations.
I think the Clerk-Mandela confrontation illustrates in a way some of the miracles of negotiation the last 3 years. Time and again, this confrontation breaks down deadlocks, and the train moves because there is no alternative. And the remarkable thing is that in terms of the decisions taken by Codeso 1, notwithstanding the confrontation, 4 weeks later, right on time, the first preparatory meeting started and the whole process got underway.